Welcome to this weekly tarot reading for inner healing. Let's dive in. So as always, what is the week lesson? Let's have a look. Okay, 2 cards wanted to come out. We got the 5 of Wands, and then we got the King of Swords that we got last week. So the 5 of Wands is all about feeling pulled in different directions. It's about having your energy or your passion or your motivation being kind of pulled. And I know that can sometimes happen when we just have a lot of things on our list of things to do. Maybe it's all things that we think are really important, but somehow when we're being pulled, as you can see in this card, it's almost like they're working against each other instead of with each other. You know, sometimes we can have so many different things and be pushing them at the same time, but it seems like this week it might just be feeling a little bit awkward, as if like when you have to focus on this, you won't be able to focus on something else, and that might make you feel a little chaotic. And that's where I think this card comes in, the King of Swords, which is also talking about the clarity that we can have, because the kings have a lot of wisdom from everything that they've gone through, and they're able to see clearly through things. They don't get swayed by their emotions. They're just very much clean cut. So what I'm getting here is the week's lesson is about figuring out how to transform this chaos that you're feeling into more clarity. So let's have a look at how you can do that. Let's see, first of all, what are the weaknesses to look out for with regards to that? Okay, 3 cards want to come out. We got the 3 of Cups, the 9 of Swords, and the 8 of Wands. So, interesting. They're all in our weaknesses. So what to watch out for? First of all, the 3 of Cups is basically about celebrating, going out with friends, and kind of like socializing. So what I'm getting is, especially when you're feeling torn and maybe already feeling like your energy is being caught in a lot of directions, it's maybe not to accept one more thing, even if it sounds fun, or maybe even if you feel like an obligation, because sometimes when it's a celebration, let's say, I know I feel guilty when somebody invites me to their birthday, but that it's just another thing to do. And so it's like to be wary of your maybe having to say yes to that, or also maybe that desire to maybe distract yourself from this and not pay attention to this or not focus on this and go out and distract yourself by celebrating or being with other people. The other thing, though, is also not to do the opposite, which is not to actually just go so inwards that you just start having this anxiety, because the 9 of Wands is everything that keeps us up at night. So it's also about being careful with your mind, not to let it just run away with all your worries this week. Or maybe it's like everything that's pulling you in all these different directions is going to have the triggering effect is that it could make you feel this anxiety or just this worry, or it could keep you up at night. And then the third thing to watch out for, your third weakness is wanting to absolutely have it go fast, because the 8 of Wands is about basically fast-paced movement, things happening. And so again, sometimes when we're being pulled in different directions, it's almost like we want to get out of this situation. And believe me, I know we don't necessarily want to stay here. But what I'm getting here is that if you try to solve this problem with speed and almost try to solve it by speed, or just like pushing a solution, you're not going to do it. It's almost like staying there, learning what you have to learn through this moment is actually how you'll get out of this moment faster. So let's have a look at what your strengths are this week. Let's see. So we have, interesting, 1 card wanted to come out. We got the 8 of Cups. So the 8 of Cups is actually a really interesting one here, because the 8 of Cups is about knowing when to walk away. When is it no longer serving you? And so that's actually your strength this week. I think you're starting to realize that this situation is not basically helping you. And at the same time, you're also seeing that you can't necessarily force a solution by doing something quickly. You can't necessarily ignore it. And it's also not so great when you're only concentrating on it. So what is the best way to deal with a situation like that? It's sometimes about knowing what to walk away from. Maybe one of these things is just pulling you in the wrong direction, and it's time to let go. And the good thing, though, is this card is telling you that you have that capacity, because the 8 of Cups is about knowing it inside. It's about using your intuition, because moons and tarots have to do with our intuition. It's about just knowing that when the time is right, you will know, and it will feel good to leave. It will feel good to either drop one of your things or to let it aside, or just not necessarily forever, but just say, you know what, right now, this one I'm going to put aside. So, what is your message of love from your highest self to end this reading? Let's have a look. Okay, we got the Nine of Wands. So, the Nine of Wands is all about resilience and basically knowing that you have it in you to continue. So, as uncomfortable as it is, you have the resilience, and you do have actually the maturity and the emotional kind of like ability to see through things more than you know, and also that you're very resilient, and that nines also are at the end of the cycle. And so, as we can see in this card, there's like the sun setting, that as much as this is very uncomfortable and it doesn't feel very good because we're pulling ourselves in different directions and not necessarily having all our different parts work together. As I mentioned, though, when you're trying too hard to just like force a solution out of there, that's not going to work. But when you can just trust, let go, and know that inside you will feel it, you will know when it is time to drop something, it will actually liberate the situation. And as I said, the nines are kind of signaling that. It means it's the end of the cycle soon. And that like this kind of battle that you've been doing for a while, you won't have to do it for very much longer. But you also have the strength to endure this. And so instead of rushing through this moment, try to see what it is you're supposed to learn here so that you can actually see more clearly with your inside knowledge. So on that, I'm wishing you a wonderful week, sending you lots of love and lots of laughter as always, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching.